Big Data. C'est une session très intéressante. Aussitôt que vous êtes prêts, nous allons démarrer, donc, s'il vous plaît. Et donc, pour modérer cette session sur le Big Data Analytics, j'ai le plaisir et l'honneur d'introduire Dr Manel Madioub, qui a bien voulu accepter donc, de modérer cette session. Dr Manel Madioub est en fait ingénieur docteur en informatique. Elle est professeure donc, à l'école supérieure Esprit. Et elle est chef d'équipe de recherche et développement et elle a un focus, je le sais, sur le cloud computing, entre autres. Dr Manel Madioub, à vous la parole avec mes remerciements.
Thanks, Mr. Saeh. It's a pleasure for me to present this session. It will be about another emerging and interesting technology, which is big data. And due to the huge amount of analyzed and generated data, new technologies and transformation had risen a relationship with big data. And our panelists today will discuss these transformations and technologies to highlight new projects and new opportunities in relationship with big data. So our panelists are Mr. Pedro Sequeira, an IT expert, Mr. Marco Karuji, an IT expert too, and Mr. Mohamed Hamdi, director of Al Ghazala Innovation Center. I invite them to join us. Okay, let's start with the first presentation presented by Mr. Pedro Sequeira, an IT expert about big data competition perspective, and the floor is full.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for your presence again. I'll be speaking about the issue called big data, and I choose to speak about it on a competition perspective. What I mean by this is the phenomenon of increasing datafication of activity, which was a word coined a few years ago by two people that wrote a book about this thing of big data. If we go back into 2010, you're probably familiar with The Economist. It's a magazine that discusses and does present interesting articles about technology as well. We're already speaking in 2010 about a data deluge, so huge amounts of data falling on top of us, either by email or other means. So actually, talking about huge amounts of data is not a totally new thing. It's been building up over the years. And this article ended up in an interesting way. He had a quotation from T.S. Eliot from a book called The Rock. And the quotation, it's not exactly like that because they didn't quote the whole thing, so I added the first line. So T.S. Eliot is saying, where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we've lost in information? And it's interesting because we have already seen a here that talks about data, information, and knowledge. So I think the new word here is more part, and it's also something that makes us I think it's very, it was written many years ago in the beginning of the last century, but it has a lot of meaning on the days that are going on with this whole amount of data going around. So that's why I wanted to start it by talking about this. So what is big data? Well, these two authors, they gave us a definition in their book, what was big data. And I think they were saying two important things in their definition. And one is, well, this is not the internet, so this is a different thing. So be aware that although the internet makes it the way or the enabler to collect and share data, this is not, this is distinct. But more importantly, they said a different thing, which is we can learn a lot more from a large amount of information. I don't know if this one works better. Yeah. So we can learn a lot more from a large body of information than we could not comprehend when we own only smaller amounts. So I think this is the central idea regarding big data, is because big data amounting large amounts of data allows us to extract knowledge that is not possible with, without large amounts. So, talking about large amounts of data, we definitely have to speak about online platforms. Why? I mean, because online platforms, the things like the Googles, Facebooks, and Amazons are, at the moment, the big tech companies that collect huge amounts of data, by far compared to any other companies. So they are the ones who are really collecting a lot of data. I don't know if you are familiar with Walmart. Walmart is a big store chain in the US, probably the biggest one. And they have stores and online business. But so why we are talking more about Facebooks and Googles than about Walmart? And the reason is because these companies, these new companies, they are completely disrupting the competition area, because they provide ways of which are more convenient to buy things, to search things in the internet, or to socialize with other people. So they are a different category in their own area, and also because they are the ones that are probably using more the technology innovation, using things like algorithms. I don't know if you are familiar with, are you familiar with the story that there was a book in Amazon selling for $23 million? Does anyone know this story? So it's a funny story, because some time ago a researcher was trying to buy a book about flies, and he realized the book he was looking for, there was only one available, and it was offered new by two different companies. But it cost quite a lot of money, like $1,000 or $2,000. So he found that quite strange. So he came back to the site several times, and the price started going up. And suddenly it already cost thousands of dollars, and then he got to hundreds of dollars, and in the end he got to $23 million for maybe a few days or a few moments, I don't know. And he also realized that the two companies offering the book were pricing it at the same level with a slight difference. So which means that what was in fact happening was these companies have an algorithm, and the more times you click searching, the price is going up, because you are assuming there is more demand. And if no one is controlling that, it can go up in an unreasonable way and reach these sort of values. So then they realized what was happening, and it came down again. So this is just to say that these companies are in fact the ones that are already using, the ones like Amazon, artificial intelligence algorithms to set the prices in this case. So another important thing is these companies are the ones who are offering services, let's say for free, in exchange for our data. So all our personal data, all our behavior, all our habits of using these services are the goods that these companies sell, namely to advertisers, in order they can target better the clients they want to reach to sell their business. So it's a different thing altogether, and it's based basically on a known factor in telecoms, which is network effects. So in network effects means that, as you know, people linked to telecoms, the more a network has in terms of clients, the more value I get, because if I get connected to the network, I'll be able to be connected with more people. But in this case, in these companies, we have a slight difference, because they are not only within group effects of network effects, but also cross-group, which means that these companies are platforms that have two sides. On one side you have the customers, on the other side there are the advertisers, and then the platform tries to match these two together. And the more I have in one side, it's creating an effect on the other side. It can be positive or it can be negative. What I mean by this is, if I don't like to be bombed with advertising, I don't like this effect. But on the other way, I might be willing to get advertising for things that I'm searching. For instance, if I starting looking for Tunisia in the Google search, I might get advertising about spending my holiday in Tunisia. I might click on that, because the companies only make money if you click. And they might find a good idea or a good proposition and come and do and spend my holidays in Tunisia. So this is how the whole thing works. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, from this description we saw, well, it's making people's lives easier in many aspects. I mean, if you ask most people if they would like to live without Facebook or Google, they would say no, and then probably they would even be prepared to pay a certain price for these services that now they are getting in not an explicit way paying, but paying with data. So this is the new reality. So what this has to do with competition? The problem is, because these companies are able, because of these network effects, to get big very quickly. So they are able to grow very, very, very fast and become very big. And they are global, so they're not dependent on a physical location. So it's not like Walmart that has physical stores in one country. So they are global. So they get very, very big, they get more and more data, and as more data they get better at the algorithms, because, as we've seen, the big data allows them to improve the service they are providing to the customers. So they get better with their algorithms, they change them. I would say probably they are still not perfect. Probably all of us get advertisement that you would not expect the algorithm to do it, because sometimes they don't make much sense. But in fact, these companies are able to, owing a lot of data, to become even more interesting to consumers, because they have this, let's call it, competitive advantage, which is a word used on competition issues. So is this a problem? Okay, that's the issue about competition, concentration. We, in the past, have seen unregulated sectors, a lot based on the concept that concentration is an issue, is a problem. Why? Because if a company tends to be a monopoly or it becomes a monopoly, it can decrease innovation, prices can go up, or we can wait a long time for a telephone line like in the past. So that's why we moved from monopoly to competition. And now we see these companies getting ever more huge market shares on the business they are. Like Google owns or has about 90% of the global market share in search engines, or Facebook has 66% on social media, and even Amazon has 37% of the global market of online retail. So these are numbers, if we think in worldwide markets, quite extraordinary and big. So this caught the attention of the authorities, and people start discussing mainly in Europe and in the States, where antitrust authorities are pretty much organized and used to deal with competition issues. So why we haven't regulated these companies before? Because there was a lot of discussion between the telecom sector and these so-called over-the-top players. We are regulated, they are not regulated, we pay a lot more than they do, they don't get their revenues taxed, so there are tax issues as well in this problematic. But in fact, in the end of the day, when the authorities, like in Europe, ex post competition authorities start to addressing these companies, an important thing was they were never able to produce a confirmation or a statement that these companies were harming the consumer. As you know, harming the consumer would be considered an abuse of dominance, which was not the case. So they also have been using remedies which are basically fines. They are huge fines. Probably you are aware that Google was fined in $5 billion some time ago. Of course, they will litigate, they will go to court, and this will go on. But in fact, these companies also see this as a cost of doing business. Like Visa has to face losses because of fraud, and that's part of, they have a percentage of revenue or of their cost that is using that. So these companies are very large, very big, and they are able to pay these large fines. So there is, in fact, an issue that concentration is being considered a problem, and that the authorities don't find easy ways of dealing with this problem. Now, the question is, in theory, monopolies, if they can be contested, which means if some other companies can enter the market, that's not a problem, because if I can enter the market, it means that the barriers to enter that market are not too high. And they are big because they are good. So you cannot punish anyone for being good at what they do. So if I'm very good, if I have an excellent product, which I sell very cheaply and people want to buy it, probably I'll get a very high market share. So if I do this, why should I be punished? And in fact, contrary to Europe, in the US, the authorities don't condemn monopolies. Monopolies is a legal thing. It's not unlawful to have a monopoly. So, a number of questions raises which are related with big data, because these companies raise a lot of data. So big data is a problem. And one of the questions is big data creating these unsurmountable competitive advantage? Also, This means other companies will not be able to enter the market because they don't have the data these companies have, so they cannot compete, even if they have an interesting offer. So is this a barrier to entry these markets? And to what extent can these companies that monopolize huge amounts of data use it to exclude its rivals? So another question is, it's about the data itself or the way we know how to analyze it? Because they can have a lot of data, and some companies do, but they don't analyze it properly, or they don't use it in a correct way. By the way, a lot of companies are nowadays bought based on the value of the experts that work with the algorithms inside these companies. And valuations are like $5 million per person. So probably you oblige them to stay with the company for a number of years. So this became really an asset. So there are a number of things that people are asking in terms of competition issues regarding big data. There is a discussion. So some people say that this tendency towards monopoly stimulates rivalry in the form of dynamic competition for the market as a different thing from static competition within it. What this means is these companies don't think, well, I'm going to improve next year my market share from 20 to 25. No, I'm going to be the winner takes all, and I'll get all the market for me. So this is how these tech companies think and behave looking to markets. So it's not competition within, but it's competition for the market. But going back to history a bit of these techs, market entry always happened without a lot of data. So Facebook challenged MySpace, Google replaced Alta Vista, which was a former search engine. And when they did this, they didn't have a lot of data, in fact. So they were able to enter these markets. One can say that when they did this, there was a lot of less data within these companies, but still they were able to enter these markets. So some people argue that it's big data will not create market power, so should not be regulated or a concern. So this might be beneficial even to new market entries, because these network effects, if they are able to enter and they decide to enter, they will quickly also get a high number of users. For instance, because they have innovation, they have an innovative offer to give to customers. Or they also argue that data is cheap and non-rivalrous. This means that because consumers multi-home, so I can use different web sites for search, or I can do shopping in Amazon, but also in other companies. So if I multi-home, in a way, these companies are not possessing data that is not possessed by others as well. So it's not in itself a big competitive advantage. And they also argue that the costs of collecting these data are decreasing now through doing it yourself or outsourcing. So it's becoming increasingly available to anyone else. So some people argue that we should not be worried about this, and we should not regulate these companies because of big data. Some others say that it's not enough to be innovative, so you need a bit more, and the value of data itself is something that is worthwhile, and some companies pay a lot of money to get their hands on this data. On the other hand, they don't mind giving or open up some of the algorithms they use. So this means that they are more concerned of being the only owners of the data compared to their rivals. So there is a discussion going on still on these issues, and these companies keep growing to large dimensions. But in fact, the regulators or the authorities have spotted the issue of data And back in 2016, the French and German competition authorities did a study and noted that big data was really a competition issue and that the authorities should start looking to it. The problem is how you do it. And they also noted, because these companies entered a market segment, but then they spread to other areas. So there is an issue that these companies are also being involved in other areas of activity, like Google is not only in search, they are putting a lot of money in driverless cars, like Tesla. For instance, why does Tesla, in terms of market value, is a lot more valuable than General Motors and sells 10 times less cars? Because Tesla is producing and collecting a lot of data to be used in the future driverless cars, and GM is not doing that as much. So the market, in fact, recognizes in the market value in the stock exchange that collecting a lot of data will have a lot of money, will be worth a lot of money in the future. Thank you. So, so the problem is how the authorities will address this data advantage of companies like, for instance, when Facebook bought WhatsApp, the European Commission said, well, for the purpose of this decision, the Commission has potential data concentration, but in fact, in the end, they did not decide on not allowing the merger, so the merger went on forward, and then they discovered that although Facebook said we will not use individual data from WhatsApp users, they were using this data in Facebook, and the Commission came back and say you have to stop doing this. But basically, competition authorities are saying you have to stop doing this. They are not really acting in a more dramatic way. So, if I may conclude, harm to consumers in terms of these companies has been difficult to prove. So a lot of people probably are happy to give their data to these companies and get these services back. And they are not so sensible, because some people are more sensible to their privacy than others. Even in terms of culture, some societies and some systems are more sensitive to privacy than others. So a lot of people is not too worried with this dominance, and my feeling is anyway that more scrutiny and more regulation will end up happening, and data will be one of the things that will be for sure thoroughly analyzed in these companies. Now there are a number of remedies that are ex post remedies to be used in these markets. One would be to just prevent or block new mergers, like these companies buying smaller companies that may become their rivals, and not create that effect of the winner takes all. So they are very small, but they can be very big suddenly, so let's buy them while they are small. They can limit these large online platforms offering too many services, so the scope of services, or imposing the data access. So companies have to make available their data to rival companies in order to be able to enter these markets and compete on the same level. Or reverse the burden of proof. So it's not the authority that has to prove they are misbehaving, but it's the company that has to prove that is doing according to the law. So this is what I wanted to say to you about big data. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Pedro exposed the competition's perspectives of big data. Next presentation will be about data trends. It is entitled Big Data Trends, Application Domains, Technologies and Standardization, and it will be presented by another I2 expert, Mr. Marco Carugi. Yeah, the floor is yours.
20, you say? 20. Thank you. Good afternoon. I hope we have some time for discussion. I have two reactions to Pedro's presentation about not harming directly the consumer. I think we may harm consumers indirectly with a non-sustainable economy, and in which we have some actors that can take the advantage of those data. So, and the other point is that sustainable competition implies technically that those who take advantage of those data, they take advantage in a fair way. So if, for example, we can able to identify and classify data as personal data ownership attributed and guaranteed to those who produce data, and appropriate data governance framework, maybe we'll have a more fair competition because those who want to use those data will pay. Google will pay, Facebook will pay, others will pay. Somebody doesn't pay anything now. So that's, I think there is I think from the point of view of the technology, there is certainly work to be done. This speech is very short, but there is certainly a number of actions to be done in order the technology allow maybe to support a more fair competition in the market, having tools that can enable this or can support somehow better competition. Sorry. Okay, this presentation is essentially talking about some, is a brief introduction. I will do it briefly. And then some application domain and technologies that we are working on. I hope I have a few minutes to talk about some relevant initiative and standards that we are in particular moving on inside ITUT. It doesn't move on. What's happening? Ça bouge pas. Okay, let me skip some slide initially about the data everywhere, and then obviously we talk about the addressing the issues of big data in different aspects from the different point of view in terms of requirements. So big data inside IoT, big data in the internet, big data in terms of social media and so on. Also, Dr. Pedro mentioned a definition. ITUT also has a definition which is more technically about big data, which potentially is talking about extensive data set of heterogeneous characteristics, and this is a paradigm to enable collection, storage, management, analysis of this type of data. And probably everybody is aware about the 4 or 5 V's we are talking about, big data. Certainly, among these V's, the value is what you want to extract. So we are certainly, I think now it works, yeah. From you? Okay. You can do. It's okay. No, it's okay. So the value is obviously the key point, extract intelligence from data in order to be used for the application. And this is a pyramid. Dr. Maref this morning mentioned this, so I will skip this. Obviously, we try to move with different technologies, for example, introducing metadata that can enable somehow the enrichment of raw data, the data, for example, that comes from sensor, to produce some knowledge and manage better them, aggregate them, analyze them. So in terms of enterprise, I think it has been already said, but somehow the big data have an impact on enterprises. They can allow across the different different steps and transformation of the enterprise. Now, big data goes frequently together with the integration of artificial intelligence tools, which enable a more appropriate or more deep analysis of those data, in particular to predict or prescribe actions from the collected data. And so we move from an approach that yesterday was internally to a company, business system generate data, and internally I use them for internal business. Today we are more where the data is a resource, is integrated with the business, can generate a business model. But more and more we will go, and we have already example where the data itself is a business, so we can trade the data, we can monetize. And here, this is a typical example. So in order to have something that is a fair environment in which we can monetize data, we can have the advantage on the different parties that exchange this data, we need technical tools to have a fair sharing of this data. Probably a company saw the sharing of the data to the appropriate monetization among the parties. So certainly this is, from the point of view of commercial business perspective, is relevant, but technologically point of view, we probably do not have the tool to put in place some tools that technically can enable this trading, this appropriate commercialization. And this is, I would say, in terms of data, a typical example is smart cities that evolve from their proprietary platform. Today they begin, and the second vertical here, they begin to share horizontally data, integrating context information, beginning to do prediction, prescriptions, and then we expect more and more to publish this information also to third party that can use this information, for example, for new application. And then even exchange with other domain, from the smart city exchange with the smart airport, the smart port, as mentioned before. And finally, the smart city, as just an example here, it will be central for the data economy because it's a platform where different parties at different levels can intervene and can then create, enable innovative business models. This is a slide from Big Data Value Association. It's one association in Europe. It's talking about the different aspects of data. Obviously, from the skills, legal. We need the legal framework. We need the technology to integrate, interoperate this data. We can promote a single data market, integrating company together and making them so actor in the world market. It's a societal benefit and increase of application, again, for business or societal benefit. This is a data value chain. This is an ongoing work, but this coming from a focus group, data processing management for smart city and IoT. And is a slide coming originally from Smart Dubai. Smart Dubai has a big data office with a lot of work they have done around in terms of new recommendation for data governance. So it's talking, obviously this become an IT work now. We are talking about data core activity, creation, collection, storage aggregation, process analysis, data marketing and distribution, and data use. So across these steps of the data value chain, the core, we need to have technical tools that enable this type of value chain from the business point of view. And you see here a number of supporting activity can be taken as a guideline. So we need regulation and policy, security and privacy, connectivity infrastructure appropriately set up and with enabling feature. We need also skills. So it's a whole governance, data governance framework that has to be put in place to take advantage of data. And this also a slide, this coming directly from Smart Dubai. I took it, it's talking about also the different level of value of data, from secret to sensitive, confidential, share, open. All of this can have also technical impact, because depending on the level of this data, we may have more or less flexible tools and technology to enable this type of sharing or to keep them secret and sensitive data in not accessible by other parties. Okay, that's it just to describe that. Descriptive is basically when we analyze the data and we use what we have. And artificial intelligence techniques, machine learning and so on, enter more in this, I would say, more interesting aspect of data when we predict something, or we maybe prescribe actions based on why it had happened, recommendation for the future. So it's here where more and more we see the integration between big data and artificial intelligence. And I would just to mention a few elements about different areas. So this is the communication network service. Typically, and we see this in different use cases, in standards and outside, big data and artificial intelligence correlated to that can enable a process optimization, network process optimization, for example, optimization of resources or detection of failure. Based on all the data we detect, we can anticipate a failure. We can monetize also the data. This could be, for example, to improve via the analytics, to improve the application that we have with the customers. And so we can have response in real time, action in real time, long range forecast with the big data, or also thinking about improving or creating new business model service offer with big data. So different aspects are certainly relevant from the ICT telecommunication perspective. Obviously, in the industry, vertical industry, there is a lot of usage, and in perspective will be of big data. This is smart manufacturing, a plant failure and predict, anticipate a problem in the plant, or even a machine, a robot, which costs $100,000 every minute of interruption, or maybe I've exaggerated, but it's high cost for interruption. We need to predict and substitute it before it fails. And this is transportation safety, platform that can identify the issues on the transport infrastructure or even on the vehicle and anticipate maybe a disaster or an accident and communicate appropriate recommendation to the driver to take another road or to stop because there is a problem in the engine. Wearables, analytics for wearables for consumer application. So I want to say a few words about the technology. So some of them are obviously beyond the standards, but some of them we are clearly trying to integrate in terms of the infrastructure, 5G or IoT and so on, in order to take the benefit of data. Big data, but also in more generally data governance of the data. So there are different challenges. These are a number of challenges from a technical point of view. Those highlighted at the end are certainly key ones: trust, security, and privacy, which is not only a technical issue. And globally, the governance and the ownership of data is really a non-technical issue in which I think Pedro has already entered somehow in his presentation. And there are also critical deployment because depending on your needs, you may have appropriate tools to use, and the tools are evolving constantly. So even from the point of view of deploying big data, you have to take into account where you are and what you need to do. So you don't need sometimes to buy a big machine for data analysis if your analysis is just it can be done via an Excel file. So it depends really on what you have to do. And we have to look at system performance, reliability, how to integrate with the existing environment. So this is more in the perspective that for deploying big data, an effort of analysis and preparation in terms of plan, business plan and implementation plan has to be taken into account. One element certainly in terms of technology is the mixing of edge and central cloud processing. With the amount of data requiring real-time answer, this is the technology, edge computing, that is more and more important in terms of big data processing nearer to the user for faster response, for improved operational efficiency, and so on. Another one is a semantics-based technology. So semantics means meaning. So we give meaning to the data. We associate the data with metadata that enable interoperability among data. Many equipment, many networks produce sorts of data have different formats, and in order to be aggregated together, to be used together, we need to do some effort to be understandable each other between different systems, for example. So semantic technology that are more and more introduced at different level of the network for different perspective, device level, network level, management level, security level, can enable this interoperability, among other values that semantic have. So there is a lot of work. For example, in the domain of the IoT, we are talking about ontology vocabularies that in a different domain can be used to associate the data produced by the sources, by the device, by the smartphone, and so on, in order that it can be understood and used together. So we are talking about ontology in the different domain. There is a lot of work. Etsy, for example, in Europe has done a lot of work on that. Also, technology for sharing data. So sharing data between different domains. Example is I have a city and I have data from bus, from shops, from citizen. I want to use all this data together in terms of context information for my application. How to do that? So we are working on standard solution to manage this context information and have a level in which we can somehow publish this data in uniform way with some common data model that can be accessible. So we are talking about that, and again, this is what Pedro mentioned, promoting a network effect, the network effect of data, multiplying the value of this data across different applications, across different users. Blockchain obviously is a very big topic, but blockchain among is usage more and more experimented, is also interesting for big data, blockchain for IoT, where we manage data aspect of the IoT. But generally, this is a slide with a picture from a company in China, which made a presentation at ITU last year about the value of a blockchain at different level of the data. But essentially what I want to say here, this is a new technology. Among the different usage can be very relevant for big data associated issues. But certainly the use case, the business model that are coming up are not yet mature. And standardization is expected to play a relevant role. It should not slow down this innovation. And for the moment, we still have to wait a moment in order to be safe and say, okay, this technology can be safely applied in this domain, in this other domain. So there is a lot to work to do here in standardization. There are a lot of works, not only in ITU, but beyond, in Alliance, specifically involved, for example, in Europe on blockchain for IoT in the context of the Alliance IoTI. And then in terms of technology, I would conclude saying that when we integrate big data with artificial intelligence, machine learning, obviously we can take a bigger advantage of this because in terms of telecommunication, we can then enable network design, enhanced design, operation optimization. We can manage better the whole life cycle of the operations, or also a new application. But again, here we go with also the issues that we find with the AI. And maybe tomorrow, different speech we talk about issues in terms of trust, issue in terms of openness of the black box of the algorithms. I think sometimes, I don't go through it, but sometimes we say, well, the algorithm are disclosed, not always disclosed. Sometimes they are not even disclosed. We have, in fact, I'm saying that in some cases they are disclosed, but we don't have the data to do the same and verify. So we need verifiability, transparency, different attributes are necessary. And now there is some standardization activity on this. And GDPR, okay, GDPR I just mentioned here in the sense that this technology, these guidelines from European community are certainly very advanced. There is not the link between this type of recommendation with the technology. We need to do this link. We need that these people talk with the engineer talks better with them and see how we can implement in the different aspect of a technical chain, which involves data, this recommendation and be able to support and to be compliant to this principle of GDPR. So here I think this is certainly a lot of work, not only from technical but to policy regulation level, but we need to work together just to mention what was said before. It's a typical example in which I think the different actors have tried to work more together. There are instances like standardization in which we can have. There are other instances in which they can talk together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marco, for this presentation. Let's move to the last presentation to close this session with Mr. Mohamed Hamdi.
Thank you. So you've seen across the two previous presentations that there is a lot to say about big data in general. I will cover two main aspects in my presentation in order to cope with time. Essentially, the trends in how to build information from the data, because there is a whole of path in order to go from data to information. And the second key term, for example, it was competition in the first talk. I will focus on democracy, not political democracy, another way to deal with democracy. And since I will deal with trends, in order to cover the trends, we should not go back 10, 20, or 30 years in time. We have to go much more backward in order to identify the trends. And in terms of information, because this is the first key term of information, the first wave in modifying the economy of information was the invention of the printer, these printing machines. This was in the 15th century. And the impact, because there is an economic impact, but there is also an informational impact. The economical impact was that in the century coming after 16th century, there are multiple industries that evolved due to the invention of printing. Among these industries, for example, the paper industry, because people did not use paper before massively as after the invention of the printer. This is economic. But there is also another impact, much more important in terms of information. It is the democracy of accessibility, because before the church, especially in Europe, had the privilege of collecting all the books. So people had a problem of accessing the content of the books. And with the printing, this became an industry, and this industry allowed people to access the content of the book. So this is a way to democratize accessibility. So two impacts, one economic, the other informational. This is one of the first waves, not the first, but one of the first wave. Then another wave is the internet. The impact of the internet on information is to amplify or to extend this accessibility, because in addition to the paper industry, there is another industry. This is what we call the virtual accessibility. Instead of having the book or the content physically, you can access it virtually. And this was the evolution line for several years. So it was just an amplification or extension of the perimeter, the initial perimeter of accessibility. Third wave is the evolution of collaborative systems, more specifically social networks, for example, in which here social networks, IoT, blockchain, and all of this stuff. What is the main impact here? Because even after the evolution of the internet or the advent of the internet, you were just able to access in read mode. If you want to publish something, for example, in an encyclopedia or in a book, you have to go through the same validation process. You have to go through an edition or house, a publisher, and all of these actors. But now you can publish without the intervention or without the involvement of these kind of actors. So these collaborative systems and these open systems, because the peak of the wave was with social networks in which you can write anything without any control. So this is another wave in democratizing information again, but in write mode rather than in read mode. This was mainly in the beginning of our century, of the current century. So it is the democratization of write. And now, what are the trends? What are the upcoming trends? The upcoming trends mainly with IoT and blockchain and these new technologies, and also with the development of 5G, with accessibility, is that this democratization of right will be again expanded, as it was with the internet. It will now be expanded or extended to objects. Objects will generate information, not only humans. For example, now we have social IoT, and these things, these smart things, will generate information, and they will learn from this information. Not data, it's information, meaning that the smart object is capable to generate data, but also to analyze the data to generate information. And it will become smarter and smarter as much as it will be in life, between brackets. So these are the trends. And I just skimmed through some resources, including Gartner, MIT Technology Review, Harvard Technology Review, in order to identify the three most significant trends in data analytics, the way to generate information from big data. The first one is automatic machine learning. Machine learning has been a hot topic, and deep learning, of course, a hot topic in the last few years. And it allows objects and computers in general to learn from experience. So we have the training set that will allow you to learn. But here again, beyond this system or behind this system, there was a kind of autocracy or aristocracy. Sorry. This is in this blue module here. This blue module is that when I give you the data, are you able to model the behavior of the object, of the cloud, or of whatever? The generation of this model, for example, in deep learning, you can use convolutional neural networks or RNN or all of this stuff. You probably learn about it. But how to identify the appropriate model? You have to hire an expert, consultant, or whatever, who will assist you. And people are getting thousands of dollars with these economic models. And this is aristocracy. With this new trend, AutoML, automatic machine learning, this is an initiative of Google, but now there is a competitor. It's called AutoKeras with K, K-E-R-A-S, AutoKeras. An open source competitor still in the same area, still in generating an automatic model or automated model for your data. So you don't need anymore this expert who will come and who will identify the appropriate model for your data. This will be at least at a certain percentage realized by the machine itself. This is one of the most significant trend. Now we have two competitors, but this is expected to evolve in the near future. And this is also still in the waves of democracy, because it is the democratization of system modeling or of data modeling or even information modeling. The second one is platform interoperability. Now these experts, they use certain tools, TensorFlow, R, all of this stuff, at different stages of how to extract information from data. One of the problems and one of the expertise is if, for example, you have some pieces of code in TensorFlow or in any other language, how to convert it to the other language, or how to interface two pieces of codes together. You hired, for example, two experts. They use two different languages at different locations of the value chain in order to analyze your data. And one of the problems is to interface or to integrate. And this is, again, an expertise that you might hire from human resources. People also are getting money from that. And another trend now, for example, with this ONNX is to find a way to guarantee interoperability. So it is the Open Neural Network Exchange, ONNX, Open Neural Network Exchange format. So this will be like unifying format for, not for the data, for the algorithms, in order for the analytics layer to be interoperable, not the data, not the format of the data. It's not about NoSQL and all of this stuff. This is at the analytics or the data science layer. This is also a second trend that is expected to rapidly evolve in the next few years. And again, with this issue of democracy, this is the democratization of the platform usage. You will be less dependent on the platform, because before there was another aristocracy stemming from your dependency to the platform. This again is expected to be reduced in the near future. The third one, I will be very brief in this session. The third one is artificial intelligence as a service. You can pay to get artificial intelligence. This model, for example, is IBM model, I think. And here you can implement your model for your appropriate industry. It can be any industry you can think about. And you can pay for the model as it is. It's not the software as a service. It's the analytics layer that you can get as a service. So the dashboard or your indicators will be updated in real time according to a model that is also updated in real time. And if this, you can hire it for less than $3,000. I don't remember the exactly, but the cost is very low compared to the expertise that you would pay if you would rely on human resources. So this is again one of the trends that are expected to evolve in the near future. And regarding democracy, this is the democratization of service provision, because now the service also is monopolized, let's say, by several consultancy or expertise companies. So these are the three main trends, let's say, that are expected to evolve in the near future regarding how to analyze data. And this is in continuity with the way the information economy is evolving, because now the future is that data will be like the prime materials in order to generate the services, the traditional services, but the morphology of the economy will change because much more money will be generated from the indirect costs or the indirect benefit rather than the traditional direct benefit. This is also already available, let's say, for several actors, including Facebook, Google, and all of these actors, but this is also expected to be extended to other actors. So this is my last slide, I think. Okay, thank you.
We thank our speakers for all this presentation, and if you have some question, we can take. Si vous avez des questions, vous êtes les bienvenus. Une, deux questions par rapport à toutes les présentations. Oui, la session est ouverte pour une discussion par rapport à toutes les présentations qu'on a vues aujourd'hui. Si vous avez des questions, yeah. Of course.
Merci. Merci. Non. I'll ask the professor from the Technopark. Non, je vais faire en français. Ma question, c'est évidemment, merci pour cette évolution d'un point de vue vraiment très pointu sur des très nouvelles tendances de technologie AI. Concernant en général l'AI as a service, hein, le point, c'est après de voir si, oui, on peut offrir l'AI as a service, mais si on n'a pas la visibilité et la transparence des algorithmes qui donnent les résultats de cette AI as a service, on peut douter que les résultats, c'est ce qu'on veut. Ou c'est celui qui nous donne Google ou IBM ou les fournisseurs de ça. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des discussions, parce qu'évidemment, dans les standards, maintenant, on parle de transparence, hein, chercher de voir comment on arrive à reproduire ces résultats, quels sont les facteurs importants. Mais est-ce que dans ces discussions-là, d'un point de vue même commercial, est-ce qu'il y a une discussion sur ces problématiques-là, la vérifiabilité et donc la validité des résultats?
Voilà, merci beaucoup. C'est vraiment une question. Au fait, j'avais préparé une autre tendance, la quatrième. C'était la transparence. Mais je l'ai voilà, je l'ai supprimée au dernier moment. Au fait, dans le modèle 5V, il y a une caractéristique qu'on appelle la véracité. Sous la véracité, donc il y a la vérifiabilité, donc il y a beaucoup de sous-caractéristiques, notamment la transparence. Vous avez raison, donc la transparence, ça lutte contre une autre forme d'aristocratie, qui est l'opacité. Vous êtes en train d'utiliser, c'est vrai, vous êtes en train d'utiliser un service ASIS, donc Software as a Service ou bien AI as a Service, mais on est encore face à une boîte noire et je ne sais pas ce qui se passe derrière cette boîte noire-là. C'est pour ça qu'il y a une tendance à emprunter certaines technologies dans d'autres domaines. Le blockchain, par exemple, il garantit la transparence. Il est en train d'être intégré dans la gestion des données, même dans des contextes qui ne sont pas les siens. Par exemple, dans l'identifiant unique, dans la gestion de l'identification, il y a une nouvelle tendance, même au niveau de l'UIT, pour parler de blockchain for digital identity. Il y a aussi blockchain pour la gestion du cadastre, for land titling. Donc c'est en train d'évoluer dans des contextes autres que le contexte natif de la blockchain, qui est la cryptocurrency. Et ça, c'est parce que, essentiellement, c'est grâce à cette caractéristique de transparence. Parce que dans la blockchain, on a cette garantie de transparence. Et justement, donc ça, c'est une des tendances qui est aussi en train d'évoluer fortement dans la big data et dans les analytics et data science en général.
Merci. Autre question? Yeah. Oui. Question pour vous?
No, no.
Ah, ok.
You had a question for me.
No.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. Yeah, monsieur.
Oui, merci. Donc c'est une question ouverte pour les trois et j'ai une deuxième question pour Monsieur Hamdi. Donc la question qui est pour les trois speakers. Donc je vous remercie pour la qualité de votre présentation. Donc ma question, donc on a parlé du big data. Donc est-ce qu'il y a aujourd'hui des recommandations particulières pour pouvoir exploiter les données dans les pays en développement? Parce qu'aujourd'hui, comme on l'a bien vu dans vos présentations, aujourd'hui, il faut donc des prérequis nécessaires dans le réseau. Aujourd'hui, l'importance des données, elle est très importante. Comment l'analyser? Donc, comment peut-on profiter donc, dans des phases donc, intermédiaires, en particulier pour les pays en voie de développement, par rapport au traitement des données? La deuxième question qui est dédiée à Monsieur Hamdi, vous avez parlé de l'intelligence artificielle as a service. Donc, on aimerait bien donc avoir quelques cas où donc ce service-là a été utilisé, parce que c'est un service très intéressant et surtout de point de vue optimisation, je pense que ce service pourrait être, parce qu'aujourd'hui Tunisie Télécom, on s'intéresse beaucoup aux services, c'est-à-dire les cloud services X as a service, n'importe quel service. Pour l'intelligence artificielle, on aimerait bien avoir une idée globale et surtout de point de vue opérateur. Merci.
Start for the first question. No, the second one. For all. The first one was for all.
Sincèrement, donc, Dr. Rim est impliqué comme moi à la 13, commission 13 de l'UIT. On travaille sur la standardisation à partir des big data dans le domaine du cloud, mais là maintenant, les activités de standardisation se développent aussi dans différents domaines pour l'IoT, pour d'autres aspects, donc l'intégration après d'autres technologies avec l'IA, etc. Bon, pour les pays en voie de développement, je pense que ça c'est plutôt une recommandation qui n'est pas forcément technique. Non, je ne crois pas que je suis la personne qui peut répondre à ces sujets vraiment. Je pense que déjà, il faudrait qu'on puisse avoir la possibilité dans les pays en voie de développement les données qu'ils produisent peuvent l'utiliser directement et pas qu'après ils vont demander à Google, Facebook des choses dans lesquelles les données viennent de ce pays, parce que ça c'est le problème. Ces données, ils vont aujourd'hui, beaucoup de données qui sont utilisables pour faire des analyses, etc. Je ne parle pas des données internes à l'opérateur pour des applications internes, mais des données par exemple qui peuvent être utilisées pour des applications de type social, parce que ça c'est un petit peu un danger aussi de l'IA et le fait qu'il n'est pas transparent, etc. Il peut permettre des applications qui vont dans les mains des politiques, sans avoir rien contre les politiques, mais qui peuvent utiliser après pour se baser pour des prises de décision sur des données qui viennent des analyses algorithmiques dont on ne sait pas comment ils sont faits, dont on ne sait pas quelles sont les vraies données d'entrée, et donc en fonction des données qu'on met, on a des résultats qui peuvent être variables. Donc, je pense que quand on commence à parler de données pour l'application dans les domaines sociaux, domaines publics, etc., c'est important qu'on puisse avoir une transparence. Donc, pour revenir sur ce point-là, les pays en développement qui produisent leurs données, il faudrait par exemple qu'on puisse pas devoir aller chez des plateformes en ligne pour demander des données pour faire l'analyse. Et donc, je pense que la possibilité de développer des plateformes de cloud computing avec avec du contenu et des données qui viennent du pays même doit être poussé. Je crois que demain, il y aura une session sur le cloud computing, une stratégie pour avoir des solutions cloud dans lesquelles on puisse stocker de façon sécurisée des données qui viennent du pays, peuvent amener à avoir des données qui sont exploitables, utilisables directement du pays et pas aller chercher des données ou des conseils ailleurs. Donc ça, c'est déjà, je pense qu'il faut avoir une stratégie effectivement de gouvernance des données qui puisse permettre au pays de pouvoir gérer qu'est-ce qu'on a. Et après, l'autre aspect, c'est qu'il faudrait, pas simplement pour le pays en développement, avoir des technologies et des stratégies donc, qui s'accompagnent des policies, mais aussi des techniques, pour pouvoir partager les données, échanger les données de façon équitable, pas que nous, on donne des données qui sont gratuitement à d'autres l'utilisent, il faut les analyser et puis nous revendre des services sur la base de ces données-là qu'on va payer, même si la majorité des données vient de nous. Donc ça, je pense, c'est une problématique de gouvernance des données en général qui va vérifier surtout des pays et ceux qui n'ont pas aujourd'hui les monopoles de données en gros. Donc, il faut faire une action qui puisse bénéficier de ça. Je ne sais pas si c'était utile mes commentaires, mais je crois qu'il y a certaines des actions à faire.
Merci. Voilà, je vais répondre à la première question. Donc, en fait, j'ai vu il n'y a pas longtemps que la valeur des données, donc la valeur des données dans tous les data centers, donc à l'échelle du globe, elle a pour la première fois dépassé la valeur du pétrole. Donc, c'était pas très longtemps, donc à peu près une année, donc pas très très longtemps. Et nous, donc dans les pays sous-développés notamment, démographiquement, on génère beaucoup de données parce qu'on a un peu des populations qui sont relativement importantes. Oui.
La question, c'est-à-dire, vous comptabilisez comment par rapport au pétrole? Le pétrole, on le comptabilise par rapport à une valeur baril de pétrole. Et pour les données, quelle est la...
Voilà, donc c'est par rapport aux manières avec lesquelles on commercialise les données. Parce qu'il y a une partie qui est directe.
En octets, en données, quel est le... C'est-à-dire, on
oui, c'est en
comptabilise
octets.
comment?
Oui, oui. Donc c'est en matière de taille. Mais c'est la valeur économique de ces données-là par rapport à ce qu'ils valent quand elles sont converties par rapport à différentes lignes de commercialisation. Ça dépend, oui. Oui. Mais ça, c'est encore en excluant tout ce qui est en violation avec la privacy. Et donc, c'est tout ce qui est officiel. Mais donc, ce que je voulais dire, c'est que par rapport à nos pays, on risque d'avoir le même obstacle que par rapport au pétrole. C'est de ne pas avoir les skills nécessaires pour qu'on puisse l'exploiter de bout en bout. Donc, on risque de rester à cette échelle-là où on est en train d'exploiter la matière première par des tiers, pas par nous-mêmes. Et ça souligne l'importance du capacity building. Donc, si on n'a pas vraiment les skills, parce qu'on a déjà donc la partie technologique, elle est là. Et elle peut même être mutualisée. Mais ce qui ne peut pas être mutualisé, c'est les compétences qui sont nécessaires pour générer la valeur. La valeur, c'est le 5e V, en fait. Donc, c'est les values. Pour qu'on puisse arriver aux values, comme donc, il a présenté M. Marco, ça découle des 4 autres. Donc, c'est un résultat. Si on n'a pas l'ingénierie et la capacité nécessaire pour arriver à ça, on restera au même stade que pour le pétrole. Ça veut dire la matière première, elle est là, on la vend telle qu'elle sans valeur ajoutée. Donc c'est un petit peu ça. Pour la deuxième question, au fait, pour l'Artificial Intelligence as a Service, donc, il y a plusieurs cas, mais j'ai 2 cas qui me reviennent. Essentiellement pour un opérateur télécom, en fait. Donc, on a vu, donc nous, au centre d'innovation, on a un laboratoire Beidou, donc pour la localisation en utilisant cette technologie chinoise. Et ils nous ont donné un accès à une plateforme qu'ils ont déployée et qui permet de faire le monitoring en temps réel des camions qui circulent dans une certaine région en Chine. Et là, donc, il y a 2 parties. Donc, il y a la partie Analytics qui est déjà native dans cette plateforme-là. Donc, vous avez les indicateurs. Par exemple, en fonction donc de ces camions-là, on peut donner ceux qui sont en excès de vitesse, ceux qui sont en anomalie, ainsi de suite. Mais là, donc, ils vendent aussi la partie analyse si on a besoin, par exemple, quelqu'un qui a une gestion de flotte. Donc, il a une flotte de camions et il a besoin d'un service particulier en utilisant les données de cette plateforme. Donc, pas uniquement les données. Ça veut dire qu'ils ne vendent pas les données, mais la partie analyse. Par exemple, la densité spatiale des camions, ou bien le temps, parce que dans les camions, la température, parce que dans ces camions-là, il y a des capteurs de température, de position, ainsi de suite. Donc, les données qui sont collectées, elles sont vendues, mais valorisées. Donc, ce n'est pas les données de chaque camion. Donc, c'est une intelligence artificielle qui a été apprise par ces camions-là et qui peut être valorisée outre le modèle économique normal. Donc on peut le vendre à des tiers. Il y a aussi des solutions qui viennent de la partie KYC, Know Your Customer, des opérateurs. Essentiellement parce que dans les opérateurs télécoms, généralement, il y a une partie de gestion de fraude. Donc les fraudes telles que les Simbox, donc tous ces types de fraudes-là. Donc il y a des solutions qui sont en interne, donc en Fraudbuster, donc, qui coûtent cher généralement. Et là, il y a aussi une autre tendance pour que ces logiciels de gestion de fraude, les algorithmes qui sont déjà utilisés, pour qu'une partie de ces algorithmes-là, pas les données, encore une fois, les algorithmes, soient externalisés dans d'autres domaines de gestion de fraude, comme pour les assurances, les banques, ainsi de suite. Donc l'algorithme, il peut servir en interne pour l'opérateur télécom, qui paie beaucoup d'argent pour avoir la solution, mais il peut être donné ou bien fourni en tant que service pour des tiers, encore une fois, en se basant sur les algorithmes qui sont déjà implémentés. Donc ça, c'est des modèles qui sont en train d'être déployés. Donc quand on achète la solution, c'est dans le cadre de la mutualisation des infrastructures. Voilà, merci.
Je demande pardon, c'était quoi la question vraiment? Parce que j'ai pas bien entendu. Vous pouvez me le dire. C'était quoi la question? C'est la valeur des données?
Comment peut-on exploiter les données dans des pays en voie de développement?
Comment les exploiter?
Comment exploiter? Quels sont les meilleurs?
Difficult question. So I think one thing you can do is well, but that applies to everyone, is to exploit better the information or the data that ministries have, or the public government has a lot of data that they don't use, and that has a value, and that can be used to the public goods. So developing countries which don't have, I mean, it's not only developing countries, because in fact, all these big tech companies are American. If you put China aside, because China has a different system, political system and market structure. So they have their own, you're probably familiar with Alibaba or Tencent. The problem is have that problem in the is considering how to exploit better data just by trying to mimic these companies. I think probably the best way of thinking about exploiting the value of data in developing countries is, besides all the problems of that people have access because they cannot afford proper access to the internet, is basically trying to use these technologies in a way that you can improve your industries or your public services, or the way you live in the cities, or the way you live in the rural areas. And for that, you need a lot of, you need a lot of skills. You need a lot of people that become knowledgeable and become aware how these things are done. How do you actually work with these algorithms? How do you create value from this data? And I mean, even now, I think in more developed countries, people are saying one reason it's IoT, for instance, is not growing as it should. It's because even the companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, don't have inside enough skilled people that are able to decide what best technologies to adopt for connectivity, or what's the best software or applications they should be using. So I think it's a long path, and developing countries which have less resources, are less industrialized, But as you said, they still have large populations. So, and these people are eager to start using as much as possible these technologies. I think they are open to it. They are willing to do it. But you probably have to find a model which is more adequate to your own reality. Like I think Europe has to stop thinking about having a Google. If we are clever in Europe, we have clever people and people that are skilled and they have the education, so they should use these technologies in improving industries, improving the quality of life of the citizens, reducing pollution, get safer ways of getting the goods. To give you an idea, I was astonished, but per day in Germany, the German people received 8 million packets per day, which means each family in Germany at least receives 3 packets, either delivered by DHL or Veritas or other Hermes, other bigger logistics companies. So this means that a lot of online shopping is going around, is quite huge. So you need to try to do it in a more clever way, I suppose, and not think too much about how to replicate these models. Thank you.
Oui, je vais juste ajouter un point. L'exemple, par exemple, pour partager les données entre des applications différentes dans les domaines qui peuvent avoir une application sociale, c'est quelque chose qui peut être d'immédiat résultat. L'exemple de la ville intelligente de Santander en Espagne a démarré il y a des années. La municipalité avait chargé une équipe de chercheurs autour de l'Université de Santander de mettre ensemble une petite plateforme qui partage des données qui vient des applications de la ville. Et on a vu qu'autour de ça, c'était un exemple qui a grandi parce qu'avec ces données, on pouvait bénéficier de plusieurs applications de la ville. Et après, des applications third party, des développeurs se sont ajoutés et ont commencé à construire de nouvelles applications. Et ça, c'est un exemple des petits réseaux, lacs de données, si on peut dire comme avant, qui peut être utile pour montrer la validité de l'utilisation des données. Hein, à travers, donc, pas garder les données dans un silo, dans une application séparée, comme dans les villes, chaque autorité a son réseau et ils ne partagent pas les données. Ça, c'est par exemple des petites choses qui peuvent être faites avec des petits efforts et on commence à voir, par exemple, la validité des données. Après, il y a les problématiques globales, les problématiques de la gouvernance des données. Si on n'arrive pas à donner la valeur juste aux choses à partir que les produits, par exemple, le professeur mentionnait avant la valeur des données. La valeur des données, ça dépend de comment les demander, comment l'utiliser. Et là, je voulais juste mentionner que les groupes que j'avais mentionnés, Focus Group et DPM à l'UT, conduites les groupes 5 par Smart Dubai Office, hein, ils ont une grosse initiative sur les données. Et là, via cette leadership interview au niveau international avec des experts, on commence à parler de commercialisation des données, techniques, modèles de data economy pour la commercialisation et le sharing. Et ça peut être une initiative qui après doit aller des technologies. Comment les technologies vont supporter ça? Après, avec ça, on a un environnement plus soutenable.
Une autre question? Oui.
Maintenant, c'est 17h moins 5. On peut dire bonsoir à toutes, car on doit privilégier les femmes, et bonsoir à tous. Je me présente, Noureddine Taboubi. C'est une belle initiative de la part des responsables d'organiser cette réunion pour nous informer de tous les détails, les données et les informations de ce sujet, qui est un sujet très important. Donc, 5 sessions autour des nouvelles technologies dans l'Internet des objets. Tout ça, c'est beau. Ce forum régional plutôt jouit d'une bonne réputation d'après mes informations. Des programmes forts alléchants, un travail de respect, des interventions de haut niveau. Donc, j'en ai 2 questions. La première question, c'est une suggestion. car je suggère organiser des forums régionaux dans tous les coins de la République et surtout dans les grandes villes comme Sfax, Sousse, Le Kef, Béja, Bizerte, Gabès, Gafsa, Nabeul, etc. Car là-bas, pas mal d'étudiantes et d'étudiants qui s'intéressent à la technologie. La deuxième question concernant les réseaux unitaires. Donc, comme M. Hacheni, déjà, je suis ravi de joie d'écouter ce monsieur, ce Hacheni qui a parlé en anglais et en français. Donc, je suggère, moi, organiser une table ronde, une table ronde extraordinaire pour résoudre pas mal de problèmes épineux qui entravent la marche de ce secteur. Car la pollution, on doit résoudre la pollution. Pourquoi? Parce que la Tunisie, c'est un pays touristique. Et avant de conclure, je vous dis merci beaucoup et merci beaucoup.
Merci. Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un qui veut commenter l'intervention? Oui, je vois. Merci beaucoup pour votre intérêt en tout cas. Moi, j'avais aussi une question au conférencier, mais en tant que représentant de l'UIT, donc, et avec nos collègues de l'INTT, nous serons très heureux de pouvoir organiser des événements et des forums similaires à l'intérieur du pays, et nous encourageons les universités et la société civile de bouger et de s'approcher de nous, et nous serons heureux de pouvoir organiser. Ceci étant, nos activités, que ce soit comme celui d'aujourd'hui ou nos activités de l'UIT en général, sont diffusées en ligne et souvent avec participation possible à distance même. Donc même les régions reculées pourront en général participer à nos activités. Mais votre invitation, votre proposition est la bienvenue, et j'espère qu'on aura des occasions pour aller dans les régions. Si vous permettez maintenant, juste une question rapide. Je pense que il est temps de clôturer et que tout le monde se fatigue maintenant. Pour un peu revenir peut-être à commencer par Pedro, mais la question, je pense, concerne tous. Pedro, vous avez évoqué la nouvelle tendance ou le nouveau business model basé sur les online platforms. Et je pense que Big Data et online platform, c'est quelque chose qui est en relation. Et je pense que c'est une tendance lourde actuellement du business. Nous vivons donc l'avènement de nouveaux business models basés sur les intermédiaires. Les exemples ne manquent pas, que ce soit les sites marchands, Amazon ou autres, mais surtout les métiers maintenant. Uber est les plus grandes compagnies de taxi du monde maintenant, n'est-ce pas? Uber. Et pourtant, Uber ne possède aucune voiture et n'emploie aucun chauffeur. Donc le business model basé sur les données change. Et la question, est-ce qu'il y a des directives qui vont réglementer ou qui réglementent un peu ce genre de business? Uber ou Airbnb, maintenant c'est le plus grand hôtellerie du monde, mais il n'y a aucune réglementation qui gère ça. Quelle opportunité pour les pays en développement, pour revenir à la question de Dr Rim, quelle opportunité autour de ce nouveau modèle de business basé sur les données et sur l'intermédiatisation, si on peut dire, entre clients et fournisseurs, ou entre produits et clients consommateurs de ce produit, et la plateforme n'est qu'un intermédiaire basé sur l'exploitation des données, souvent des données personnelles du client qui veut louer sa maison. Il met tous les détails de sa maison sur le net, Et le client qui va louer la maison ou louer le taxi, il met aussi les données de sa carte bancaire, de sa capacité de payer, et ainsi de suite. Pour terminer, est-ce qu'il y a une opportunité pour les pays en développement et les pays arabes, notamment, de se baser sur la langue arabe, pour dénicher des créneaux qui peuvent être au moins compétitifs sur le marché en se basant sur la langue arabe ou sur une langue locale, disons, pour limiter un peu l'hégémonie des grands tels que Uber, Amazon ou Airbnb. Voilà, merci.
All difficult questions. Well, I think answering the last one, which accuse la langue, it's true. I mean, I suppose a lot of people in many places don't speak English, or they don't feel at ease doing transactions in a different language. I can give you an example. The other day I was looking to my bank account in Portugal, because now I live in Germany. And I was paying something each month of €7, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But now I discovered what it is. I'm paying Amazon Prime for a service that I've not been using, just because I was buying things in Amazon in Germany. And even I was 1 year at school trying to learn German. My German is still very poor and inefficient, so I probably click something that I shouldn't. And as they have my credit card, they've been taking away every month this money. So you're right. I think language could be an issue and an opportunity. The other thing is, how do we deal with these large platforms as consumers? So how we protect ourselves from this hegemony of big data, creating such a power that the problem with the power is a lot of these platforms bring us a lot of good things in our life, because you can buy a book today and get it in your table tomorrow morning, and this saves you a lot of time. So there is an issue of convenience, but it can be used to other things. You're probably familiar with the fact that Amazon makes 30 or 40% of their revenue by saying to the customers, if you like that, you should buy this. And in a way, this seems to be a bit innocent, but it's in fact behaving our choices. And bias is quite a social issue that can be political. But in fact, in practice, what they're doing is they are limiting your options as citizens in things very simple, like what books you can read or what books you should read. And there are some studies now that show that. I mean, people that are from left wing, they read the same types of books they buy in Amazon, and people that are Republican, they tend to read the same books. So in a way they are in silos, and this is because Amazon is inducing the way people are buying things. And so there is a bias on our preferences, but there is also a bias on the. Everyone is biased. I mean, I'm biased. Everyone is biased. Everyone in this room is biased. We have prejudice. We don't see everyone else in the same way. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's inevitable that our human condition limits us in that. But we are influenced, and we are influenced by news that are put into these social media. we are influenced by these big platforms. So there's a lot of bias in our lives. And we are, I don't know if you've ever been an immigrant. I'm an immigrant now in Germany. And I've been living to a number of prejudices because I don't speak German well, and I have a foreign name. And I can give you a simple example of our normal life. Someone scratched my car. It was my neighbor. She's a nice girl, and she said, well, sorry, I scratched your car. So I'm going to tell my insurance company. So I got a letter from the insurance company, and the insurance company has a number, so I should call the company. You see, again, my German is not very strong, so I called the company, and I was talking to the people there. And she started asking me questions. How old I am, where I come from, it doesn't matter. But at a certain point in the conversation, I couldn't understand what she was saying, and they don't speak English. So I had to finish the call. So I asked her, well, would you mind calling them, because I was not able to get through. So she calls them, she's German. And they said, no, this is no problem. He just has to take the car. And they don't ask any questions. So you think, okay, so if there is a German calling, there is nothing to ask. If there is someone that speaks poor German, there are lots of questions. So you think, well, there's something here that is not really right. And you think, well, there is a bias, in fact. So there is, if someone looks unfamiliar or doesn't speak well or because he's a foreigner, I'll ask them questions. So the sort of treatment that you get is different. And this can, well, this one example is fairly innocent, but if you are applying for a job and the company is using an algorithm that doesn't select you because of bias, and this bias can be intentional or not, we don't know what is in the black box. So we're not able to understand what sort of criteria the algorithm is using. And in the end, some people put these things inside the algorithm. So answering your question, one way of looking into this could be making rules to make this transparent, but also it has to be good. There have to be good intentions on the practice of producing algorithms or other things that deal with data. So there should be a set of rules, and these must be able to be audited. Otherwise, if there is a problem, or if I make if I want to complain, or if I want to question why I've been excluded, then I will have a way of there is a consumer complaining association or organization that can deal with these kind of situations. So in fact, there are a few things you can do, but the problem with regulating ex ante is because if you regulate emerging technologies ex ante without these markets being mature enough, you might be killing a lot of progress and innovation in society. So you always have the tension between immediate intervention and wait and see how it develops. But my feeling is that the way things are going, there's going to be a lot more intervention and regulation relating to data issues, namely the ones that involve personal data. And the extent that you'll be effective in doing it, as I said before, depends a lot on your capacity and knowledge of having also the technological tools and the technological expertise to be able to intervene in these markets. Otherwise, you are a bit lost. I mean, you can put fines, but I think they've been doing fine with the fines, if I may say so.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Voilà, je vais répondre très rapidement aux deux questions à travers deux case studies, au fait. Pour la question sur l'opportunité. L'opportunité, elle provient directement du besoin. Donc, il faut déceler les besoins qui sont spécifiques aux pays en voie de développement ou bien des pays qui sont semblables à nos contextes. Donc, il y a un use case, donc aussi dans dans le centre d'innovation, donc Al-Ghazal Innovation Center. Donc nous hébergeons des startups. Et ces startups-là, donc si on était par exemple à la Silicon Valley ou bien dans n'importe quel autre système d'hébergement des startups, la première chose, c'est quand on présente l'idée, on fait la valorisation de la startup. On dit elle coûte tant, cette startup-là. Après, les gens vont investir dans la startup. Nous, on n'a pas ce système en Tunisie, même après la Startup Act, etc. Donc on n'a pas encore la maturité pour valoriser les startups. Ce qu'on fait, donc, c'est qu'on a pris une expérience pilote avec une startup allemande qui a un produit qui s'appelle CoinSense. Donc ça permet de générer des coins, donc votre propre monnaie digitale en ligne. Donc on a fait l'expérience, donc la personne, le fondateur de la startup, il était là la semaine dernière, et on a fait une expérience pilote pour générer notre propre coin, donc c'est une blockchain semblable au Bitcoin, pour valoriser les startups. Donc chacune, elle va dire par exemple, je vaux 100 coins, 200 coins, ainsi de suite. Tous les contributeurs qui viendront après ne seront pas des actionnaires au sens réglementaire. Ils auront leur part de coins par rapport à ce que la startup vaut, virtuellement. Donc c'est tout virtuel. Après, quand il y a une valeur qui est générée, soit par l'expertise de la startup, soit par un produit vendu directement, un proof of concept par exemple. C'est là que donc cette valeur-là, elle sera divisée proportionnellement par rapport à la contribution de chacun en termes de coins. Donc ça crée une flexibilité et une indépendance par rapport au système réglementaire qui est trop rigide pour qu'on puisse faire cette valorisation, ces capital ventures, ainsi de suite, qu'on n'a pas en Tunisie. Donc c'est une solution innovante qui, justement, vient à cause d'une opportunité qui provient elle-même d'un besoin. Pour la question de la langue, il y a aussi donc, un case study. C'est une start-up donc dans le centre d'innovation aussi, qui a développé un chatbot, donc c'est un chatbot sur Facebook, pour le airline ticketing, pour acheter des billets d'avion. La particularité, c'est que le chatbot, il permet de dialoguer avec la façon avec laquelle les Tunisiens chattent. Donc on a un langage particulier, ce n'est ni arabe ni dialecte tunisien, avec le 7.3, ainsi de suite. Donc notre chatbot, il parle cette langue-là. Et ça a été l'argument pour qu'il soit très vite acheté par le premier client, Taha Voyage. Donc là, vous pouvez entrer directement sur Taha Voyage et acheter votre billet en dialoguant, non pas avec un opérateur, mais avec ce chatbot. Et on est en négociation avec d'autres pour qu'ils puissent l'acheter. Donc ça peut être un facteur très important, la langue, si on sait vraiment l'exploiter. Merci.
Oui, vu que c'est tard, je vais être rapide, mais j'ai noté des points. Je ne vais pas parler disons, des exemples pratiques, d'avantages, d'opportunités. Je vais plutôt parler que ce problème, je crois que c'est un problème très important, plutôt grave et qui ne concerne pas que les pays en développement. Quand on regarde à Paris, il y a des hôtels qui ferment avec Airbnb. Et Paris, c'est la ville la plus touristique du monde. Donc, le problème, c'est que cette plateforme va acquérir un poids tellement important si on n'a pas une gouvernance de type international sur ces problématiques-là, qui peut échapper vraiment et peut rendre l'économie pas soutenable, avec des gros perdants et très peu de gagnants, très fortement gagnants. Donc, la problématique, c'est qu'effectivement, ça, c'est pas juste pour ça. On parle de la gouvernance de l'Internet. Aujourd'hui, on parle de la gouvernance de l'Internet quand on veut agir en termes globaux. On a des activités. Là, je passe, par exemple, à une activité dans laquelle on discute à l'OIT sur des nouvelles technologies pour avoir une meilleure gouvernance, l'identification des devices, etc. Là, quand on commence à toucher des points dominants, des points forts, on voit bien qu'il y a des réactions importantes. Mais là, il faut agir. Donc, il faut agir d'un point de vue des entités, par exemple, internationales, comme on parle de la standardisation à l'OIT, dans lesquelles les pays ont un poids, tout le monde, les pays en développement et pas développement, pas que les gros qui ont un intérêt peut-être derrière à soutenir une économie qui finalement, de façon indirecte, les revient en termes d'avantages économiques ou de contrôle, etc. Donc, il faut agir d'un point de vue international. Donc, je pense que là, on a un exemple, il y a quelques mois, on parlait à Hong Kong des modèles de l'Internet aussi. Les modèles d'Internet avec les WebRTC, etc., pourraient faire en sorte que très peu d'acteurs interagissent directement avec l'utilisateur et les transits, l'interconnexion des réseaux comme on connaît aujourd'hui d'Internet, il peut s'arrêter. On peut avoir juste en face de nous des gros acteurs qui, après, ils échangent l'information entre eux pour donner l'accès, l'accessibilité aux différents services. Et quelqu'un qui veut entrer dans l'Internet, il peut lui dire non, non, ça ne m'intéresse pas, je ne te donne pas les points d'échange avec toi, donc tu n'as pas accès au réseau. Donc, on parle même des problématiques de ce type-là avec les nouvelles technologies. Pas que dans les données et ça, on parle de la gouvernance de l'Internet en général. Donc, je pense qu'il faut agir globalement. Donc, pour moi, dans ces problématiques-là, les pays en voie de développement qui ont moins de ressources de certains points de vue, capacité de biens, etc., ils ont même plus à perdre que les pays développés, dans lesquels il y a une conscience des technologies à différents niveaux des acteurs plus importants. Donc, déjà, il faut construire la conscience de tout ça. Il faut la rendre au niveau approprié et peut-être agir de façon, comme entité d'organisation internationale, qui puisse pousser aussi les technologies, par exemple, à faire en sorte que certaines recommandations puissent être mises en œuvre du point de vue technologique. Parce qu'on ne parle pas de régulation ex ante, mais à la limite des principes de security, privacy, etc., qui peuvent être généralement acceptés d'un point de vue international, feront en sorte qu'on a, disons, une garantie de la privacy ou une garantie de la soutenabilité des échanges de données qui est garantie un peu partout. Donc les organismes internationaux, même si on connaît leurs déficiences, on connaît bien les déficiences de l'ONU, etc., dans certaines actions internationales. Il y a des pays qui ont un poids très important, mais il faut agir de ce point de vue-là. Moi, je parle plutôt comme citoyen, mais je crois que ça, c'est des problématiques très importantes. J'espère qu'on le fera pour AI for Good à l'UIT. C'est une initiative, ça fait 3 ans. On parle comment rendre éthique l'artificial intelligence, il n'y a pas que l'ITU, IEEE, etc. Ça, c'est un domaine. Les domaines de la sécurité privacy, il faut agir. Et après, il faut retourner sur les stances techniques et faire ensemble que les pôles, etc., ils voient des pas. Mais je ne crois pas que ça, c'est... Disons, sûrement, il y a des opportunités spécifiques dans les pays en développement pour certaines choses, mais je pense que c'est une problématique globale qu'il faut quand même en même temps, comme le climat aujourd'hui avec la fille de 16 ans, il faut l'approcher d'un point de vue global avec les instances appropriées.
Merci tout le monde pour ces réponses et ces éclaircissements. Je crois que vu l'heure, nous allons laisser le reste de nos discussions pour demain. Je ne sais pas si Marf, comment vous prévoyez.
En effet, il ne nous reste qu'à remercier donc vivement nos speakers, le modérateur ou la modératrice. Je pense que nous avons eu, malgré la durée et le temps qui a vite passé, une excellente dernière session pour aujourd'hui. Je remercie beaucoup les speakers. Je vous remercie pour votre intérêt et votre attention. Je pense que nous aurons noté pas mal de recommandations et même d'appels aux pays membres et aux experts et spécialistes pour bouger sur certains créneaux et certains aspects. Sans tarder, je vous prie de vous joindre à moi pour applaudir les speakers de cet après-midi. Et on vous donne rendez-vous demain donc à 9h pour les 2 dernières sessions de ce forum. Et je vous remercie encore une fois. Et bonne fin de journée, bonne soirée et à demain matin. Merci.
Merci.